Welcome back everybody. Today we're gonna play Brimstone on Bind. Today is day 157 of playing every agent on every map. I've recently been on holiday, so I've taken like 1.5 weeks off. So now we are straight back to daily uploads and we're starting off with Brimstone. In my opinion, Brimstone is not the greatest agent, but on a map like Bind he can be used pretty successfully. Also his ult is insanely strong on a map like Bind. There's a lot of spots where you can use it, and also his potential to play a long post plan is also pretty good. Just don't be the guy that always goes back for their Brim lineups, because that will most of the times lose you the round, even though it can work out sometimes. Having Brim lineups is not a necessity for a Brim, but it can help you out. Starting off with A-side defense. On A-side defense it is pretty simple to do defensive smokes with a Brimstone by just placing one smoke right here. On top of these boxes you kind of have a one-way right here. You can kind of hold this area with a Phantom or a Vandal and spray through, or in general just wait for the enemies to walk in here. This is really strong, even if you combine it with a molly, for example, right here. Like that, it makes it really hard for the enemies to come in, and in general makes it pretty easy for your team to take the space, or hold the space. Other than that, if the enemies are coming through Bath, you can use a smoke right here. This smoke will also block off this area quite well, and you can again use a molly right in this smoke to kind of stop the enemies from coming in. The other option you have is to use a smoke right here. If you have some util to take the Bath space for your team, use a smoke right here, go get this orb, fight the enemies before they can even come in here. Other really good stuff you can do is use mollies to kind of stop the enemies from planting by using a jump molly like this, or using a molly like this. That will land on the default plant spot, making it really hard for the enemies to go for a plant. Other than that, you can also play right here in the lamps area, really common. Wait for the enemies to come in, especially with shotguns is a pretty strong thing, makes it really hard for the enemies to take the space. Other than that, also re-smoking these areas right here can be pretty good. Also using a smoke and on the bottom can also be pretty good, and then waiting for the enemies to jump up here and holding this angle right there. Other than that, using your stim beacon on the retakes can be pretty good, or if you feel like the enemies are coming in. What you can also do on a Brimstone, especially with a stim beacon, is spam through this wall and an Odin. It will do a lot of damage to the players that are trying to come in through main, and in general it is a pretty strong thing. And now switching over towards B, and on B the defensive smokes are right here on Garden and right here on Hookah. These are the two smokes you're going to use most of the times. The other options for smokes are smokes right here. If you're playing in Hookah, is a smoke right here to help your team holding the Hookah area, playing on top of these boxes, either way, all the way on top, on these boxes, even in this corner. Just make it really hard for the enemies to come in this area. Just be careful, the enemies might come through here with flashes. Also, using a molly right here can be pretty strong. And then for long, what you can do if you want to take the ult orb and also kind of have an aggressive play is use a smoke right there, get this ult orb, or even walk into the smoke and then go out with, for example, a Gecko flash or a Sky flash out of the smoke, find the people that are playing in front of the smoke right here on B in the area around as well. Other than that, for a retake, I would recommend that you smoke off Garden and Window, or Hookah, and make it easier for your team to retake the site, and then use another smoke on top of the spike. And then going for the defuse. For ults on defense, I recommend that you use your ult mainly to stop the plant. For example, if they're going towards B and if they're planting in tube, using a ult right on the side is a pretty good idea to kind of stop the enemies from going for a plant. Same thing also, if you know the enemies are in Hookah or in Garden, you can use ults like these. What can also work sometimes is to combine your ults on long, right at the teleporter, with another piece of util from your teammates. For example, a Techo ult going through the TP. So you can use the Techo ult, use the Brim ult, and then kind of push the enemies in towards the TP and kill them like that. Other than that, again, using your stim beacon or retake or side faults if you want to like spray the enemies is a pretty good idea. And now switching over towards attack. And on attack, it is pretty simple with a Brimstone. Most of the times you're just going to use your smokes right here, and maybe even one in heaven. Fully smoked. These three smokes give you a lot of space on the site if you split the site from two sides. For example, from Bath and then also from the main area right here. These smokes are pretty good. If you are not splitting from Bath, I recommend that you have a smoke right here and right here. Maybe even the Heaven smoke, but with Brim smokes they are pretty good. Or if you have a Sage Ball, you can even use a smoke on top of these boxes and another smoke right here, and then Sage Ball this area off and go for a plant. In general, using these smokes can be pretty good. Also, depending on how much space you have, you can even use a smoke right here and right here in tower to take the side like this. Also, if you have a Brim ult, pretty well known Brim ult is, for example, right here in lamps. Make it impossible for the enemies to play in this area. But one that is pretty underrated and most of the times will work out as well is one like this, where you hold backside, forcing the people to either push in towards your area right here if you have people coming from lamps, and also trying to push out from behind of the smokes, and making it pretty easy for you to get a kill like that as well. Another really underrated one is even one all the way back here to kind of stop the enemies and stall out some time for your team to take the space. For mollies, attacking mollies, you can either throw them in towards heaven. In heaven, they are not quite as strong. In general, I recommend that you kind of either block off lamps if you know somebody is in there with a molly like this, taking the space, and then even maybe pre-firing around the corner, making it harder for the enemies to play in here, or just save your molly to use it for post-plant. And then again for re-smokes, using a smoke right here can be pretty strong. Another really not too bad smoke is one right here on the side, but it will have a gap on this side. Another trick that you can use on a Brimstone if you don't have any lineups is to get to somewhere, look at where the smoke is coming down, place your smoke exactly on the spike, and then aim at right where the smoke is popped. By throwing a molly right here, it will land exactly inside of the smoke and will be a perfect lineup from wherever you are shooting it. Just make sure you're looking high enough so you can hit this molly pretty consistently. Other than that, again, stim beacon when you have your team together trying to hit the site, or even to rotate over. For example, you're going through the TP, going faster towards the B side can be pretty effective. And now already switching over towards B, and for B I recommend if you have an ult that you can use your ult to either clear out this area or clear out the backside area on the B side. And for smokes, I recommend that you use your smokes here and here. These two smokes will do you quite a solid, and to take the hookah space, also the space in long, you can use a stim beacon and take the space with your whole team. Other than that, again, if you're coming long and you have information over, for example, the chamber, playing a lot on long, you can use a ult right here to kind of stop the enemy chamber from playing there. Use a ult, peek out, make sure he has to peek you or TP back, and you will get him while he TPs back because there's no way of escape. Other than that, also going for a wide swing here on long with your stim beacon can be pretty good, and kind of pre-firing the enemies where they are going to be. Farming ult orbs is also a pretty strong thing on a Brimstone. You can again use the same trick as I've shown you before with the smokes. You kind of have to be careful though. If you're planting here, the molly will bounce in weird ways. So for that, I just recommend you're playing on long and throw a molly like this. It will usually land on the right spot. And again, for re-smokes, depending on if the enemies are coming through elbow, I recommend to re-smoke the elbow area or the CT area. CT, you most of the times get more value out of. If I had to give Brimstone a rating from S to F, I'd actually give him the A tier. I know Brimstone is usually not one of my favorite agents, but on a map like Bind, he is actually pretty good. The only thing that I don't like about the Brimstone is that he doesn't have rechargeable smokes. That is why I put him in the A tier and not the S tier. His ult is really strong, his molly is pretty good as well, and in general, his kit is really good for a map like Bind, where you have to fast rotate through the spawn if you want to be on time. That would be it from me. If you want to see any other agent on any other map, write it down in the comments. And if you want to see anything else fun related, write it down there as well. And as always, don't forget to like and sub, and come say hi to me on Twitch, where I stream almost daily. Have a great rest of your day, and see you guys very soon. Bye!